Sage Wanderer here, and welcome to the sheep pen, where no goats are allowed. So, today we're going to continue this theme of talking about spiritual warfare. You're in a battle. You battle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers of wickedness in high places. There is an assignment against you. The devil is seeking to steal, kill, and destroy. He is seeking to undo you at every turn. And so many times as Christians, we forget about the battle. We forget about the fact that this is a spiritual war, that there are two kingdoms locked in eternal struggle, the kingdom of light against the kingdom of darkness. And everything we do in this life builds one at the expense of the other. What kingdom are you building? Paul, I don't talk about him a lot, but he did understand spiritual warfare. And it's because of the time that he was in that it was much like today's world. The status quo sought to destroy this upcoming religion. The status quo sought to destroy and minimize spirituality and to confuse people with all manner of things: deception, control, tyranny, right? And so, like the time of Paul and the time of the early church, the church today is engaged in social combat. They're being suppressed. They're being tyrannized, right? And this comes at you in the earthly realm, and it's real easy to fall into the earthly struggle. That is the pathway of the patriot, the pathway of the social activist, right? And there is a place for that kind of interaction, for that kind of discussion, but never lose sight of the fact that this is a spiritual war and spiritual weapons are being used against you. There is no such thing as bad luck or misfortune. There is only blessings and curses. Anything that looks like good luck is actually good karma. It's actually sowing and reaping. What you sow, so shall you also reap. If you sow good things will come back to you. But there's no such thing as fortune or luck or just being lucky. I had a nickname. People used to call me Lucky. People used to say, "You're the luckiest man I know." And I would respond that luck has nothing to do with it. Luck is not real. What I have is blessings. And you achieve these blessings by banishing the devil and his works. Let me put it this way. If you think you can just get saved and the devil's going to go away, you are greatly deceived. That's one of the biggest deceptions in the world today, that all you need to do is say the sinner's prayer and the devil will leave you alone, and that's poppycock. In fact, the more you align yourself with God, unless you do the things that you're supposed to do with that, unless you engage in the spiritual warfare, unless you protect yourself, you just become a target, right? This is why so many Christians struggle with sinful behaviors. They struggle with stinking thinking. They suffer from depression. They live a life of wreck and ruin because they align themselves with the powers of light without engaging in the battle, right? It's kind of like if you put on the uniform of your country and marched into a war zone declaring what side you're on, but yet you carry no rifle, you don't have any body armor, you don't have any bodyguards, you don't have anybody backing you up, right? What does that make you? A target. It just makes you a pincushion, correct? So when you align with Christ, when you accept Christ into your life, you have to immediately become combative against the powers of darkness. Because the reason the Son of Man came to this earth was to destroy the devil's work. If you're not engaging in destroying the devil's work and you've aligned with Christ, you've made yourself a target. So, if you look at spiritual self-defense, it's a lot like physical self-defense. Yes, you can have all of the weapons of war. You can have all of the army working for you. But it kind of all starts with your personal security. We don't engage in personal self-defense spiritually like we ought to. You know, you probably live in a house with doors that lock and windows that lock and maybe an alarm system. You probably got a dog. You might have a gun next to your bed. Then there's a fence around your house, right? But spiritually, you may not have any of those things going for you. You may think you don't need them. It's a false sense of security, and this is why Christians experience bad luck. Bad luck are really demonic attacks. Misfortune, wrong turns are really deception and attacks that you don't see coming from the dark side. You're under attack. It's time to fight. But the number one best offense is a good defense. If you don't have a safe place to sleep at night, you're not going to be very effective in the battle, correct? So this is why soldiers build foxholes. They build base camps, right? They have to have a place to recharge, recoup, and find their peace. They have to create in that moment a space of peace. And this brings me to the fruit of the Spirit. You know, I think that's one of the measuring cups of people who are, you know, it's the way we can measure how spiritually grounded and successful a person is. Do they exhibit the fruit of the Spirit? Let's listen to what the fruit of the Spirit is. This comes from Galatians chapter 5, 20 and verse 22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Those are the main targets that the enemy goes after. He wants to rob you of love. He wants to replace it with fear. He wants to rob you of joy. He wants to replace it with sorrow and mourning. He wants to rob you of your peace and replace it with struggle and contention. He wants to rob you of your long suffering. Another word for that is patience. He wants to rob you of your patience. He wants to rob you of your strength and your durability. He wants to make you suffer, right? And he wants you to lose your cool about it. The devil's working to make you unkind to others. The devil's working to make you not a good person. The devil's working to destroy your faith in the spirit realm and in God. He's trying to make you not be gentle, but abrasive. And he's trying to make you lose your self-control. Now, what is spiritual self-defense? Well, obviously, we talk a lot about prayer. We talk a lot about angels. And we talk a lot about banishing demons from your life. But in this message, I want to get down into the details of how a devil gets past your defenses. How do demons bring about that lack of joy and replace it with suffering and sadness? How do they destroy your peace? Well, how does an enemy get into your house? How does a thief come into your home? He comes in when you forget to lock the door. He comes in when you have that window open you forgot about. He comes in when you do not have a lock on your door or you leave your door wide open, right? They come in through the doors and the windows. They don't make a new hole in the side of your house. Thieves come in through doors and windows. You have spiritual doors and windows in your home that are, in your spiritual home, that are left wide open. So let's talk about what these doors and windows look like. How can you bolster your spiritual defense? Well, one of the big things we talk about on this channel is unforgiveness. Your front door is wide open if you live a life of unforgiveness. If you don't forgive others, you won't be forgiven. And the devil will use your past to control your present and dictate your future. And he can do this through the open door of unforgiveness. If you want to know more about that, I preach about that a lot. Look through my library, and you will find many videos on dealing with unforgiveness and how to forgive the unforgivable. Another way that the devil gets into your life, into your spirit, and steals from you, steals the fruit from you, nips it in the bud. How does he do this to us? He does it through the back door. What's the back door? The back door is sinful ways and patterns and behaviors and ways of thinking. So if the front door is unforgiveness, the back door are the things that you do wrong that you know you shouldn't do. You know, I don't prescribe moral guidelines for people, but I do say this: everyone has them. Everyone has some ethical line, some basic level that they see is proper behavior and proper actions and a proper way of living. And any of the areas of your life that you are compromised in that, that's a sinful pattern. That's a sinful way of thinking. That's sinful behavior. When you violate whatever ethical line you put up for yourself, you create this opportunity. It's like leaving the back door of your house wide open. People don't always see that. They see the front door. Unforgiveness is obvious, but our sins are hidden. They're the back door to your castle. They're the back entrance. And when you have that in your life, you are wide open to demonic interference. So what are some examples of these behaviors? Once again, not pushing morality and the hard line of that, but rather giving you the opportunity to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. But once you've done that, once you have that ethical line, then sin becomes your knowing and willful violation of that ethical line. That's what sinfulness is. So let's say in the past you've had a drinking problem. Well, if you continue to engage in drinking, if you continue to white knuckle it, as it were, right? If you do not seek God for deliverance from this sinful pattern and way of thinking or behaving, then it presents an opportunity for the devil to get to you. Let's say you do have a drinking problem. Well, it can get way worse if you have a DUI. It can get way worse if the DUI results in the death of another person or a family member or loved one in the car with you. So you see how that open door of this undealt with issue can open you up to massive wreck and ruin. Let's say another thing is you run from your responsibilities. You know you're supposed to take better care of your kids. You know you're supposed to be a better parent, but you'd rather watch video games. You'd rather watch sports on TV than do the hard work of spending time with your kids. Well, that's sowing and reaping 101. That's a back door, that laziness, that lack of dealing with a difficult situation can leave your back door wide open, and then your kids, the devil can access you through your kids. If you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. You know, your life can be going along lickety-split, clean as a whistle, everything's great, but if you drop the ball on parenting and your teenager grows up to be a heathen and a hellion, they can bring wreck and ruin into your life. They can bring a SWAT team into your bedroom through their actions. So the back door are those things that we know we should do and don't do, or those things that we know we shouldn't do when we do anyway, regardless of what those things are. It gives the devil an open door. Now, demons can come in through your windows. The devil can access you through your windows. What are the windows in your spiritual house? These can be relationships. One of the primary windows that devils reach us through are our relationships. When you partner with someone, you have a responsibility to yourself and to them to level them up spiritually. If you're the one that needs leveling up, then you need to level up. And, you know, you're only as strong as your weakest team member. You know, the movie 300, I don't know how much that's based in the reality of the siege of the pass of Thermopylae in ancient Greece. That was a long time ago. But one of the key things in the movie, at least, is that there is a weak member of their group. He has a birth defect. He's a hunchback. They don't take him seriously. They kind of drag him along without elevating him, right? They see him as unimportant. But he's the very thing that cost them everything. He let the enemy in through a secret passageway that only the 300 knew about. There was a way to compromise their defenses, and they were relying on no one knowing about it. But that hunchback, that member of their group, he turned to the dark side, and he brought the Persians in the back way. So if you have relationships that are that can compromise you. If there are people that maybe you don't take them seriously, or you think it's okay for them to be lost, or for them to be off track or off the rails, and you do nothing about it, you don't try to elevate them, or you don't cut them out of your life, that's a window. You know, the devil can get to us through our relationships. Now, demons are lawyers, right? We've talked about this before. I'm not saying that all lawyers are demonic. Maybe, I don't know. A lot of lawyer jokes pop to mind right now. If you're a lawyer, I apologize. But demons are bound by spiritual law, and they will use every loophole in spiritual law to get to you. And so there are things and associations that come through family that could destroy your life. And demons can use these associations to get to you. And I talked about active relationships, but let's say you have a family past that has, let's say you come from a criminal family, or you come from a family of racists, or you come from a family of alcoholics and partiers, that unless you do the proper things spiritually to break soul ties with the past, to break soul ties. You know, I talked about in the previous section how family members need to be leveled up, right? So that they're not an open window, or they need to be eliminated from your life once you decide to eliminate them, or these are people from your past that don't even exist in this, you know, in this world anymore, have passed on, or if these are people that have left their teaching on you, their impression on you, because you connected with them at one point or another. You have to break soul ties. I've talked about in previous videos how to break soul ties. But, you know, it kind of goes like this. I take in my hand the sword of the Spirit, and I cut away every soul tie I have with so-and-so. I take every good thing they gave me, and I take it to heart, and I cut away every bad teaching, every bad idea, every bad habit, every bad impression that this has had on me. I cut that away in Jesus' name, and I pray to God that you heal me, Lord. You heal me from this situation, right? This kind of prayer ministry, this kind of active self-protection is the equivalent of locking your doors and windows, right? This prevents the devil from easily accessing you. There are other things the devil can reach you through, and one of those things are vows. We talked about word curses in the last video. Your word curses that you put on yourself can hold you back. Vows you make can be unlocked windows that the devil can use to get into your life. Maybe once upon a time you said, I will never, ever, ever, fill in the blank. I'll never, ever let somebody treat me like that again. I'll never, ever trust someone again. I'll never, ever, ever put myself in that situation again. And depending on what those things are, those could leave open windows, vows. You know, I could talk about I will talk about my second wife, okay? I had a relationship with a woman who, unbeknownst to me, had swore that the first time that she was married, she married for love. The next time she was going to marry for money. Well, God had other plans for her. Fate had other plans for her. And she met and fell in love with a poor, struggling musician. It was a strong and powerful love. It was a love she couldn't deny or run away from, even though she tried. She tried over and over again. But she had made a vow, and she couldn't let go of the vow, even though she'd said, oh, he has enough money, I'm happy, we'll figure out a way. On one track of her mind, on the other side is this open window of this vow that she'd made to the universe. I will never be married to another man unless he's rich. And this brought 4 years of on again, off again hell into my life and hers. I have no doubt that you can't be happy if you marry for money. That you have to do what makes you happy and love the person that you love. You can't love somebody because they have money. Hey, You know, it can be one of the things you love about a person, but if that's your primary motivation, you're never going to find happiness. So she'd made a vow that she thought was going to make her happy when really she just ensured her own misery. When love and a special person and a relationship presented her that made her happy, she couldn't be happy because the devils would never let her rest about that vow. So there's a spiritual tool you use called breaking vows. I break every vow I've made except the vow to love God and to love people. I break every limitation I've placed on myself. I break every word curse I've placed on myself. I break every assignment against myself. And then having the forethought to know that you shouldn't engage in those kind of word curses against yourselves. A vow like that, I will never ever, I'm never gonna, I will do this if this last, these kind of absolute statements are windows in your defenses that the devil can use to access you. You might be trying to succeed, but you might be doing it in some way that is related to some vow or word curse you've made against yourself, and demons can insert themselves into your life on the loophole of a vow that you made yourself. These can be associations with spiritual advisors. They could be associations with mentors. You know, when you make a promise to somebody or a vow or a connection to some other person, even though you're no longer associated with them, the vow still remains unless you break it. This is a part of breaking soul ties. You know, the fruit of the Spirit are great things, but the fruit of the Spirit comes when you have banished the demonic from your life. You can't have peace if there's devils in your life. You can't have joy if your house is full of demons. You can't be long-suffering if you're always flighting around and bouncing around from decision to decision, and you never stick to anything, right? You never have any commitment. And it's demonic thought processes. The devil attacks us through our thinking. Remember, demons' primary and, in my opinion, only real power is through deception. And this is why Paul is correct. You have to take every thought captive. You have to be the policeman of your mind. You have to lock all the doors and all the windows to your spirit. You have to keep, be sober and vigilant. And when that word sober, don't jump on the temperance wagon. I don't preach that kind of Christianity here. The word sober doesn't mean not drunk. The word sober in the Bible, in this context, means serious. Be serious and be vigilant in your defenses, because the devil's like a roaring lion roaming to and fro, seeking whom he may devour. He wants to steal your peace, your joy. He wants to steal your patience and kindness. He wants to turn you into something you're not. But he can't do it if you're vigilant and sober, if you're aware of the doors and the windows in your soul. Take some time this weekend. Take some time whenever you can. Make some time to sit down and really look at your spiritual defenses. Hey, do I have some sinful pattern way of thinking? Do I spend too much time in stinking thinking instead of positively focused on the Lord, positively focused on God's path for my life? Or do I spend a lot of time in stinking thinking and negative thoughts? Do I have sinful behaviors? Do I need to spend more time working on my temper? Do I need to spend more time being sober and vigilant about my thought life? Do I have family members, associates, people that I'm bound to that are the weak link? Do I need to spend some time elevating them? Do I need to put some effort into bringing them up? Or do I need to kick them out of my life and close the door and lock it behind them? Do I have word curses and vows that are holding me back? Are demons accessing my life through these windows, these unlocked windows? What's my forgiveness level? Am I still carrying a grudge? Is my front door wide open because I'm living a lifestyle of unforgiveness? Do I hold grudges against everyone and everything and live in the past? Or do I know how to slam the front door and turn the lock and say goodbye to the past and forgive everyone who ever hurt me? You know, it isn't just about being the best person you can be. It's about disarming the devil who's working against you. It's about spiritual warfare and defending yourself against a real life predator and an army of demons who are loose in this world wreaking havoc. If you don't defend yourself, if you don't lock your doors and windows, if you don't surround yourself with angels, if you don't throw yourself on the mercy of the Lord and say, Lord, surround me in your ring of fire and hedge of thorns of protection. Lord, rout out every weakness I have, Lord God. Strengthen me in the things that I'm doing. Give me a mission to succeed in, Lord. If you're a passive Christian, if you said the Lord's Prayer once, or you go to church once a month, or you think you're a good person, right? But you've done nothing to clean up your own backyard. You've done nothing to take the devil's rights away from him. And don't let the sun go down on your wrath, lest the devil find a foothold or a handle on you. Does the devil have a handle, an open door he can just reach in and get a hold of you? It's up to you to be sober and vigilant, to carefully look at your defenses, to pray for spiritual insight so you can see your blind spot. Sometimes we have open doors and windows and we thought they were locked and nailed shut. But in closer inspection, they're flagging in the wind. Devils are lawyers. They can't get to you unless they have a legal right. Spiritual warfare is about stripping the legal rights away from the demonic through the way that we live, the way that we think, the people we choose to be around, the careful choice of words, understanding that our words have the power of life and death. It resides in the tongue, that words are powerful, and we're undoing ourselves with our own words, our own vows, our own promises to ourselves. Even those that were made decades ago can still linger if we don't cut them out, if we don't break every vow that serves to work against us. If we don't make new goals, new intentions, a new future, we're destined to live in the past. There's nothing worse than attaining a certain level of spiritual maturity just to realize you've got a back door wide open, or your front door don't even have a lock on it, and one day demons just decide to destroy your entire life. And it can happen in the blink of an eye. All it takes is an unlocked door. Search your soul and your spirit this week. Pray for enlightenment. Pray for discernment. And ask yourself, am I leaving my door wide open? Is my back door wide open? Are my windows unlocked? Is there a door I forgot to close, lock, and nail shut? Do I have that fence of protection around me? Do I pray every day, Lord, surround me in your ring of fire and hedge of thorns of protection? Am I putting on the full armor of God? Am I standing behind that shield of faith, swinging the sword of the Spirit? Am I staying in the spirit realm, or am I lost in the physical fight? You can't beat a spiritual battle. You can't win a spiritual battle through physical means. But every physical battle has a spiritual underpinning. It all starts with your thought life, your relationships, your allegiances, and your behavior. So be vigilant, be sober, fight the good fight of faith, destroy the works of the devil, and it starts in your own spiritual house. Speaking of, I have a little cabin here in the woods that I do require your financial assistance to maintain. I am a full-time minister. I spend all my time thinking about, concentrating on, and in prayer about my next message. And I also talk to my viewers a lot, both in emails and in the comment section. And so I do require y'all's financial support to stay afloat, so I don't have to work a day job, because when I work a day job, I don't have time for any of this. So if you enjoy the content here, if you see me as a spiritual mentor, please contribute financially. There's a link in the PayPal, a link to PayPal in the description. There's a Cash App tag in the description as well as a P.O. box where you can send physical letters to, or checks, or however you want to do things, money order, gift cards, love all of that. Anything you can do to help. Also, please make sure and subscribe. Check your subscription. Make sure they haven't unsubscribed you from the channel. Share these videos. Join me on Twitter. There's a link there on Twitter too. I'm about to start uploading videos to Twitter as well. Those will be a little bit more controversial and a little bit more some of them will be a little bit more political and involved in the culture war than I can do here on YouTube. I try to keep the YouTube channel at this point very much just about spiritual things. So I do require your help, your support, and your kind words. And most importantly, I covet your prayer. Pray for me. Pray for God's blessing on this ministry. All right. I'm going to leave you with this powerful prayer of protection that reminds you that it's your job to make sure that you defend your spiritual realm, your spiritual life, your thought life, and not fall under the deception of the demonic. So, Lord, surround us all in your ring of fire and hedge of thorns of protection. Send mighty angels of sufficient rank, authority, and number to drive the enemy from our midst. And then, Lord, envelop us in your peace. Bless us with the fruits of the Spirit. Bless us with all the good gifts, Lord. Blaze our trail and light our path. In Jesus' name, amen. We'll see you next time.